Howdy everybody, I'm back with a video, another one for you guys. It's an impulse video, but not quite an impulse video. This is something that I've been getting questions about, especially comments on my other videos where I mention this. So I thought maybe it'll be a good time to just make a video, about it. I haven't made one yet. I haven't really gone into depth or detail about it, as you can probably tell from the comments, but first, let me just say to everybody who's watched my videos before, I did change my hair. I gave myself bangs again, and everybody essentially bitched a fit when I got rid of the green. So, by popular demand, it's not quite the shade that it was before, but it's like this deep greenish blue. It's a lot brighter in person, and it's kind of hard to tell on camera the exact color, but I like it. I'm gonna wash it a bunch. I just dyed it last night, so the color's really deep and strong. But I'm gonna wash it a bit, lighten it up, get it more of a vibrant green color. It's like a deep jade right now, which I'm honestly living for, because it's a little bit more subtle. But it's time for not so subtle. Maybe I don't want to be subtle anymore. I want to make a statement, and that statement for me, as of I guess a Monday night, is bright green hair. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, so that's happened to address that. And let me just say, I'm living for it right now. I need to do my makeup all like goth, like black lipstick, just black everything with the bangs. I feel I need it in my life, like right now. But for today, we're just doing a kind of a toned back, just nothing really too exciting. I finally destroyed my last pair of eyelashes, so I'm a little plain Jane today right now, but it's okay. I'm a little plain. I'm gonna pull a, what is her name, Trisha Paytas on you guys, and film this video sitting in my kitchen on the floor, because it's currently probably 11 o'clock, 11:30, and there's no daylight out, and my kitchen currently gives me the best lighting. So there you go. But alrighty, I don't have my notes again this time. I wasn't prepared. I tried to curl my hair, but it doesn't hold curls very much, and I was like, well, I can make notes or I can curl my hair, because I gotta work early in the morning, and I don't want to be up until 3 o'clock in the morning if I do both. So let's hope that I don't mess up this intro too many times and have to do it. But anyways, there's my little spiel. Moving on. So, more into my sexuality. Apparently that's what people want to know about. So, I currently, as of 6/29/2020, it's June. Yeah, June 29th, 2020, at like 11:30 p.m. I identify as a asexual aromantic. And somebody's messaging me on Instagram. So, essentially what that means in like baby language is that I just don't like anybody. Not that I don't enjoy other people's company. Like, I have friends, and I can like to hang out and spend time with certain people, but romantically, sexually, anything like that is just not even on my radar. And I know for a lot of people that's really hard to believe. Like, I explained it to a friend of mine a long time ago, and she's like, really? Like, how is that even a thing? Like, she couldn't even comprehend not wanting to be with somebody like that. And it's not the first time that I've encountered somebody like that, like where they just either haven't heard of it or they think like, you might want to get that checked out. Like, and believe it or not, I have. But yeah, it's not that common, I guess. And let me explain the first part of it. So, asexual, right, is I'm just not interested in the sexy, touchy-feely bits in a relationship. That's just not something I'm into. Never have. I mean, ever since I was, a kid, I obviously went through puberty like everybody else, but I just was never interested in being in a physically intimate relationship, and it was a really kind of a big insecurity for me in high school, especially when all of my friends were getting boyfriends and girlfriends. And then I remember one of my friends in high school, she talked to me saying that she just, like, she lost her virginity or whatnot. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And because at that time I was probably 16, and I just thought maybe I was gay, honestly. Like, I hadn't even heard of being asexual before. I hadn't really looked into, like LGBT things weren't as, like, really on my radar at all. Like, I knew that my friend was lesbian and my other friend was bisexual. But aside from that, I mean, I didn't really have that much information on anything like that. So, I mean, I thought maybe I'm just a late bloomer, right? But so my friend, she would be talking to me, and then all my other friends were, losing it and having relationships and things like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'm just not really into that. And at first, when I first thought of, losing it, right, and having a relationship and actually being with somebody, my first thought would be like, oh, well, it'd be like a boyfriend, right? But then I just wasn't interested in having a boyfriend like that. And so that's when I was, in high school, I kind of got to thinking, oh, well, maybe I'm just gay if I don't like guys like that. And that went on for probably my entire sophomore year of high school, and probably going into my junior year of me just assuming that I was just like a lesbian, until I actually tried to have like a girlfriend. And I tried a couple of them, and oh, I moved my camera, my bad. But let me just say, it wasn't anything against these people. Like, my one girlfriend, I mean, she was gorgeous, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with her. They were all super nice and very attractive and had great personalities. But it just something wasn't clicking with me. And eventually, I mean, none of my relationships ever in my entire life have lasted longer than 2 weeks, except for one, which I will tell you guys about later, because I feel like has an important story. The one that was a lot longer, and it was a lot longer too, like I think over a year, and I'll explain that one in a bit. But yeah, I mean, all through high school, I mean, I tried to do the whole relationship thing and dabble into it. I mean, it's just never lasted. I mean, ever. I mean, even, let me just say, even when I'm like at a party, even when I had a couple drinks, I mean, it just never ever went that way, even in my head. And so probably maybe around 18 or 19, I had discovered doing some research. Like, I probably was like Googling things like, why don't I like anybody, or things like that. And I probably like came across, LGBT stuff. And then I was, doing the whole down the YouTube grapevine of just clicking on videos and the recommendations. And I eventually stumbled upon asexual, and I was like, oh, well, that kind of fits me exactly. And I got to thinking, that, well, maybe I'm asexual. And that's what I identified with ever since I was probably 18 and a half. Because then I just realized, well, it's not that I'm gay, it's not that I'm bisexual, it's not that I'm pansexual, I just don't like anybody. And yeah, and so that's kind of, it didn't take a turn for the worst for me, but I definitely wasn't happy with the consensus that I came to. Because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I still like having friends and being with people. And so I'm thinking, well, who the hell is going to want to be in a sexless relationship, essentially? Because I just didn't like that. And so that was a big struggle for me too. And another part, the second part two of, aromantic too, is that I'm not really romantic. I don't like things like that. I just don't really get close to people like that. And I mean, that kind of goes along with the whole asexual thing. It's like, my comfort zone is like, I love to have really good friends, essentially. And I've made peace with it now, but for a long time, probably 18, 19, and going into 20, probably I'm 21 now, but 18, 19, and 20, I was really kind of lost with all of that, because I wanted to have a partner, right? Like, I wanted to have somebody who I could just do everything with, who I could, move in with or go to the movies with, just somebody that you just, like, you're a ride or die bitch, right? Like, somebody who you just do everything with, like your best friend, essentially, but like the next level. I think I've heard the term once before, and I want to say that I think maybe it's called like a queer platonic relationship. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong, but I think that's a term that I've heard for it before, was like queer platonic. And that was, I mean, that was something that I really wanted, but every single time I tried to get into a relationship with that, it didn't end well, you know? I mean, it's just like, how do you explain to somebody, it's like, hey, I like you, I want to do a lot of stuff with you, especially when they're attracted to you and they want to do things with you and they want to be in an intimate relationship with you, but you don't. It's just, I mean, and it's not fair to the other person too if they're not asexual and you want to lock them down into an asexual relationship. I mean, that's just, to me in my head, I mean, that's not a sacrifice that a lot of people are willing to make. And so dating for me for a long time, and even to this day, is essentially non-existent and or really, really hard. But yeah, so that's kind of that part of it. But I mentioned this before, I did have a really long relationship once. It wasn't not romantic or not intimate, but it was a sexless relationship. I didn't sleep with this person. It was a guy. It was a friend that I had in high school, and I really liked him because, I mean, he was just one of those people who could just always make me laugh. And if you can make me laugh and you have just a great sense of humor, I mean, like, I want to spend time with you, and I really liked him. And and we watched the same movies. He was a Marvel nerd just like me. He's a comic book nerd. I mean, I could just totally geek out with him after, like, essentially anything. I mean, I felt like I could do kind of anything with him that I wanted to do. And we got together in high school, essentially. Like, I think right after high school. And we dated probably for like 2 or 3 months. And he knew up front that I wasn't really comfortable with anything like that. I always told people whenever they were interested, and I said, yeah, like, I like you, and I'm not opposed to giving this a chance, giving this a shot whenever I was talking to somebody, but I don't do sex, essentially. And I had a couple people say or try to say that it wasn't a problem. And a couple of people was like, oh, well, I can make it work. I mean, I had one guy in high school who I told, and I knew he was notorious around the high school, right? For essentially not being a man whore, because I hate that word, but he was very active. He led a very active sexual lifestyle. And then he asked me out, and I was like, okay, and I told him, it's like, okay, but I don't really do the whole sex thing. And he said, no, I'm fine with that. And that was fine, but it's just, for me, it's like, it's hard because they say, like, I can't remember what he said. Oh, he said something like, I was like, are you sure that's okay? Like, I mean, I don't want to put you into something that you don't really want in the long run. And he was like, oh, that's fine. It's like, I have hands. And I was like, sure, but you're used to one thing, and you're about to jump into a relationship, that is drastically different than what you're used to. Are you sure? And eventually I broke it off with him because I knew in my soul that one just wasn't going to work. And he was very lovey-dovey, touchy, romantic, like, kissy, I'm going to make out with you, like, in the middle of a highway for like 20 minutes sort of thing. And I'm just not into that. I mean, that's part of the aromantic part of me too, I guess. I mean, it's just like, I don't understand the appeal to making out. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, it just seems kind of messy and sloppy and gross, and I guess for some people it's a turn on, but I mean, for me, I guess that switch just doesn't exist. I mean, I've never in my life have I ever been attracted to someone enough to want to sleep with them. It has never, ever, ever happened in my entire life, ever. And I can say that with a fact. I mean, I've never even had, like, a teenage crush. I mean, a celebrity crush. It's like, oh my god, if I met him in a bar, like, I would totally just climb him like a tree, It's like, that's just never happened for me. I've just never understood it. And I would see, like, everybody, like, writing like stories and like fan fictions. I'd see those all the time because, I mean, and I worked with a friend of mine, and she would read all sorts of stuff, and she like, and that's fine, but I mean, she would be like, oh, you should read this, and I was like, yeah, what's it about? She was like, oh, she talking about like they like it's a sexual, it's a fan fiction, and I was like, I'm not into that, my wig's slipping down. But I mean, I'm like, well, that's not really my thing, and I can't. I mean, I skip through sex scenes in movies. I mean, whenever I do read something like that in like a book or something, like I skim through just so I can see where it ends and continue reading. Like it's just not a thing for me, and it just never has been. And like I was saying before, that's kind of thrown a wrench in a lot of my dating plans because unless I'm dating somebody else who's also asexual, which I haven't found before. I know there's got to be one too, but it's also got to be somebody that I like and want to spend time with. So I mean, unless I were to find somebody that I really like and they're also asexual, my dating life is essentially right now non-existent. And for a long time, I had a really, really hard time with that. Because I was like, oh my god, it's like I'm gonna die alone. It's like I'm never gonna have any relationships. I'm gonna be like a 40-year-old virgin. And at least when I was probably 18 or 19, that was a big deal to me. It's not so much anymore because I've come to terms with it now. Because especially after transitioning and essentially hoping that would change my sexuality a bit. I mean, transition into a guy and hope that maybe that would help me in relationships, and it didn't. Especially so after transitioning and realizing that didn't change any of that whatsoever. I mean, I kind of realized that that's just something that I'm just gonna have to deal with, or the lack of wanting a relationship but wanting a partner, which is confusing to me. But yeah, that's just something that that I'll have to deal with now. I've made peace with it because I know I can't change it. And I know some people are gonna say or comment down below, it's like, oh, just give it time, or oh, you haven't met the right person. Bitch, you know how many people I've met already? I'm 21, and I've never wanted to do anything like that with anybody ever in my entire life. It's just gotten uncomfortable, honestly. And it's more like an awkward uncomfortable. It's not even like a weirded out, like I'm just not used to it. It's just the switch is just not there. And if I could change it, I absolutely would. That is one thing that if I had any control over, it would not be the same. If I could make myself be attracted to people and want to have relationships and want a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever I might be attracted to, then I would absolutely change it because it would make things 100 times easier. I mean, hell, a lot of people when they buy a house, they're signing onto a mortgage with them and their significant other. They're putting their credit together, combined income, you can do more. I mean, life is just easier with two people. And it's just it's hard. It's hard. It's going to be an issue, a struggle, finding somebody who might want to do all that stuff, like move into a house together, and have my 2 or 3 gigantic dogs without actually being together, I mean, I know it's not impossible that I'd find somebody like that because I mean, obviously there's other people out there, but it has certainly not happened yet. But, yeah, I mean, my family's been an absolute, not my immediate family, but family members, other people I've spoken to about it have given me so much grief. They just don't understand. And whenever I try to tell them, like, nope, that's just not happening for me. Or they'll ask me, it's like, well, when are you going to have kids? And then I explain. Or whenever I don't explain it anymore. I've given up with certain people. But when I tried to explain my whole scenario, how I'm like, well, I just don't really like people like that, they always say, you just haven't met the right person. And that just drives me nuts. And it's so hard to explain to people how it feels, Because a lot of people think, oh, well, you probably just haven't met the right person yet. And it's like, you don't understand. I mean, just picture, imagine you're a straight guy, or say you're a girl, and think about whichever sex you are not attracted to. Say if you're like a straight guy, you're not gonna be attracted to other guys, right? Like, and how that lack of attraction, like if I were to ask somebody, I'm not explaining this right, I'm gonna start over. Like, if I were to ask a straight man if they would ever be into a relationship with a gay man, if a straight guy would ever get into a gay relationship, they'd obviously say no, right? Because they're not attracted to men. That's like me. That lack of attraction is just me blanketed everywhere. It's just nothing. There's just not there. I mean, and saying that, oh, you just haven't met the right person yet. I mean, I seriously doubt if I told a straight guy that he just hadn't met the right guy yet, gay guy yet, he'd be like, pretty sure I'm just not gay. You know? I mean, it's the same thing with me. And I know it's hard for people to understand and kind of wrap their mind around, but that's just how it is to me. Like I said before, I've never met anybody, a single person, even celebrity, random person on the side of the street, anybody I've seen online, anybody I've talked to, anybody that I have ever been sexually attracted to. It has never once happened in my entire life, and I'm 21 now, and I honestly feel like it never probably will. And like I said, I'm a pessimist, so I think that it probably never will. And I am a pessimist because I'm either going to be right or I'll be pleasantly surprised if it does. You know, that's my motto. But yeah, I hope that explains a little bit more. Oh, and another comment before I forget is that somebody asked, how can you be like horny but asexual? And that's something that I said in, I think, my responding to comments video. I think it was the video where I was explaining the changes when you go on testosterone, and it said your libido just shoots through the roof. And I sat all day today trying to think, oh God, giving me a headache. I sat all day today trying to think of a good analogy to kind of help people understand this. And there's probably a better one, but the best thing I can come up with for being horny but still being asexual, is like, do you ever know when you've eaten things and it's been a while since you've eaten, you know, and you get hungry but you just don't know what you're hungry for, you know? I mean, that's kind of the closest that I can explain it. It's like I'm horny but I'm not thinking about other people, you know? It's like I don't know. It's just the horny. Like, honestly, like when you're hungry but you don't know what you want, you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm hungry for. I mean, that's kind of sort of, that's probably a really bad analogy, but that's sort of what it's like. I mean, or when you eat just to eat, it's not that you're craving anything, you're just hungry, right? And I mean, whenever I do get in the mood, or once, probably a month, maybe, if I try, and I don't try because obviously, but I mean, it's literally just the feeling. Like, there's no face, there's no person attached to it. It's literally just a feeling. It's like eating just to eat, not because you're craving anything, you know? And that's the closest that I can think of for an analogy for that. So I hope that this video kind of gives you guys a better understanding of, oh my God, I forgot another thing. I said I was going to talk about that one really long relationship and I almost did. This is why I need my notes, you guys. I just can't function without some guidelines. And that's, I think, a rule for just me in daily life. But the one semi-successful relationship that I had, and I say semi-successful because it lasted the longest, was somebody who like I said, it was the guy who I started dating in high school. And we were like on and off. We dated for like 3 or 4 months and then we broke up. And then, of course, we talked and we said, hey, it's like, do you want to go out and like see a movie or something? Or I think maybe like, I don't know, like a Marvel movie probably came out and I probably asked if he wanted to go see it. And then we got to talking and then we just hung out for a bit and then we got back together. And we were like that probably on and off for maybe probably a year or a year and a half, like that. It was a while. And we kissed, and we held hands, and sometimes we cuddled. Mostly because he wanted to. Those things I was okay with doing. I never wanted to necessarily, but I did not want to. You know, it was just neutral. That was safe, solid ground. Because I was like, okay, I'm in a relationship. This is what normal people do in a relationship. And we never made out, right? And like, if it was more like if I was leaving and he was gonna stay at my house and play games or vice versa. I mean, it would just be like a quick peck on the lips, being like, hey, I'm leaving, kiss, and then I leave. Like, I mean, it wasn't anything like that. And we never went further than that. And that guy actually, it was a really complicated military thing. And this might get me in trouble, but I'm not saying anything. But we were engaged for probably about a month, actually, because I mean, I was like, okay, this is somebody, he makes me laugh like crazy, and he knows that I don't do the whole sex thing. I mean, and I like him. I mean, I could live with this, you know. And so we were engaged. I think he proposed to me. I think I brought up the idea, and then he asked me, and that lasted about a month because we got into sort of an argument, and it essentially ended with him kind of revealing that he thought, well, I mean, we're getting married. I kind of figured we'd have sex eventually. And then after he told me that, I was just like, oh, shit. Like, and I feel like that's just a general assumption with a lot of people that I've been with, is that they assume if they date me long enough, then I'll eventually become comfortable enough to do that. And it's just I just don't want to. And so yeah, after we had that little revelation, I said this is not going to work in the long run, because that's never going to happen, and if we get married, it's just going to be a nightmare, when inevitably it just doesn't work, because one person's needs are either not going to be met, or I'm going to end up giving in and doing something that I really don't want to do. And either way, I figured that's just not going to be good in the long run or healthy. So yeah, that was the long-term relationship, the one that I've had, and that was a long time ago. I haven't really dated much since maybe 2018, 2019, maybe. Like I said in my one video, I downloaded Tinder, but I mean, as soon as I started talking to people, like, I can talk to people and like flirt a little bit, but I feel guilty now, and I don't do that anymore because I hate leading people on, and I feel like it really is leading people on at this point, because I tried to maybe get out there again, but every single time somebody wanted to maybe meet up, or you know, I mean, it's Tinder, and even ones that weren't Tinder, even just dating sites. I mean, as soon as it got to actually meeting up with somebody and maybe going and having coffee, it's just the desire to get out there just kind of just shrivels up. It's like, it's all fun and games just talking, but when I actually want to get out and actually meet somebody and try, it's just the interest just diminishes by like 90%, and I end up just blowing off, really. So yeah, that is my dating life as of right now. That's my sexuality in a nutshell. I hope that I explained it correctly, or properly, at least giving you guys a little bit more of an explanation for what it is, how I feel. Because I know I just had some comments and questions. But yeah, I mean, if you guys do have any questions, just leave them down below, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. I don't know. Let's see. I have another couple video ideas. I have one that I will let you guys know. My next video will probably be me talking to you guys about how somebody tried to scam me on Instagram for like 3 days straight. And they were playing like the long game, right? I won't give away too many details because I want it to be like a full video. But long story short, I realized they were trying to scam me after like 3 days of them talking to me. And then I tried to scam the scammer, but it's really hard to scam a scammer, if you know what I mean. But I won't reveal too much, no spoilers. Also, my next thing, I made a purchase, something called, I don't know if that's Instaglue. It's a wig glue, and it says, oh gosh, something's in my eye. It doesn't say that, that's just in my eyeball. It says waterproof, non-toxic, oily skin approved, and sweat resistant. And this thing has been slipping and sliding all the way back, and the glue that I'm using now is just giving hell to my edges, my baby hairs whenever I take it off. So yeah, I'll be trying that. I might make a whole video about this because I've gotten a ton of comments about people asking me like what my wig is and where I get it. And again, like I'll say, this is the same thing. I got this wig at yolissahair.com, and it's the 18-inch body wave wig, the 13x6 back. It's not full lace, it's 13x6 and 18 inches. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, that's where I got it. It's really good. It's good quality hair. It's real human hair, and I only paid about $200 for this. I know it seems a lot to some people, but some of those wigs, I mean, especially for this length and for full 100% human hair, it gets really expensive. I did chop the bangs myself and dye it myself. So, yes, but I bought this because it's supposed to last like 2 to 3 weeks, right? And I'm like, I like take this off at night and put it back on. And so I got this, and I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna put it on. Although the only thing that I realized is that it lasts 2 to 3 weeks, and I watched somebody else's video on it, and they even showered and they couldn't get it off. I mean, they got it off eventually, but they had the remover, and I realized that I bought it without buying the remover. So I'm still gonna use it because I'm a dumbass. But yeah, I might have to make a whole video, either how it's top rated or how I just can't get it off of my head now. But yeah, that one's also something else that I might have in the future. Also, the person that I essentially get all of my wig information from, because I know people have commented, I don't know that much about wigs. I just get all my shit from YouTube. There's a YouTuber called Jada McDonald. I'll link her info down below, and I think if you just Google her, she pops up right at the top. But she's got really good content. She's adorable. I mean, I don't necessarily use the word queen very much, but if I were to describe anybody as a queen, it probably would be her. And so I get all of my wig information, my tips, and my tricks from her, and then I just kind of modify them to fit a pasty white bitch. Because, I mean, you know, you gotta change some stuff. But yeah, she's awesome. If you guys need any wig information, I'm not that good at it, just check her out. But I also got the Instaglue video. She's got, if you Google Jada McDonald Instaglue, you'll see her video, and that's the first one I ever found, and that's why I bought this, because I mean, she did so much stuff with this glue, and it just would not come off. So yeah, she said it's the glue you get in a fight with, because they ain't ripping your weave off with this shit, which I'm hoping. But anyways, rant over, spiel over, essentially video over. Dolores is once again sleeping. I didn't want to wake her up. She will pop up in the next video, I swear. We might do like a bath time with Dolores. Alright, so look forward to that. I got some new content, some new ideas. I got in touch with some photographers, right? Like a professional photographer. And we'll be doing some stuff for you guys. But yes, click the like and comment and subscribe, you know, for your girl. I got like 1,000 subscribers in like one day before, and it was nuts. So thank you guys all for this love and support. But yes, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss all the new shit that I got planned, because it's gonna be kind of crazy also. So yeah, alrighty, thank you guys for watching. Bye.